Here we are today, joined by the former World Cup of Pool champion and three-time Mosconi Cup champion, Karl Boyes. Karl, welcome.
Thank you.
So we're going to quick fire some questions really today to give viewers and followers at home a real understanding of nine ball and just a bit about yourself really.
Yeah.
So what kind of got you into cue sports in the beginning?
I started playing English 8 ball when I was 14 years old. There was a pub over the road from where I lived with my parents, and I just was going in there playing pool, and a local guy who stood at the bar spotted me, and he said, "Oh, it looks like he's got a good eye for the ball." You know, I was sort of potting the ball, so he signed me up to the team. And obviously at 14 years of age, I was playing like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night, going in all the pubs where obviously you weren't allowed, but they was asking if I could go in the pubs and whatnot. So when I was going to school the day after, I didn't really have any interest. I was just thinking about the pub and playing really, because it was good. So that's where it all started, to be honest.
Yeah. And what made you the transition then, I guess, from 8 to 9?
In 2006, there was a guy in America who set up the IPT, which was the International Pool Tour. Yeah. And it was 8 ball on a 9 ball table, and the money was unbelievable. So I was just desperate to get on the tour, and I went to America for a year basically. Yeah. And I qualified for the tour. We played 2 events, and there was an unbelievable. We were playing on a diamond pool table, which I'd never seen before, because I thought pool was English pool. Yeah. And then when that died off and it weren't successful, the tour, I sort of couldn't face going back to English 8 ball, because I'd realised that pool in general is American pool, if you like. That's what they play over the world. So I decided to stick playing 9 ball and American 8 ball.
Brilliant. So you talked about diamond. You must have played on a variety of different tables over the years. Is there a particular style or table or size that you prefer?
I think playing on the 10 foot by 5 foot, which I never knew existed, but apparently the heritage of 9 ball and American cue sports, that's where it all began. Brilliant. But obviously they started making smaller tables to fit in bars, etc. So obviously that's why it's sort of changed. But I just think when you're playing a bigger table, your cue action's got to be more perfect, and obviously that catches the weaker players out, let's say, as opposed to on a small table.
Yeah. So you've played in a variety of different tournaments as well, both in this country and overseas. Is there a particular tournament, or is there been a highlight that really kind of sticks out?
Yeah, I mean, there's been many. Obviously, I've won like Mosconi Cups, World Cups, World 8 Ball Championships. I beat Shane Van Bowen in America, which in a final on a 10 by 5, which not many people have. Yeah. But it probably sounds a bit silly, but I think when I look back, the biggest sort of win I had was winning the Radcliffe Pool individual singles. I know it sounds a bit crazy, because it was like £200 first prize and it was a race to 3, but I think now I'm 32, when I was a kid I wanted it more than anything. Do you know what I mean? It was my life. Yeah. As where now, I never set out to be a 9 ball player, you see, so I can't really say it's been my dream, because I didn't set out to do that. I set out to play English 8 ball. Yeah. So I remember like speaking to my mum and my sister and whatnot, and I was just so desperate to win that title. And obviously, it was only a race to 2 or 3, I can't remember, and when I won it, I was like the happiest kid in the world, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So from a practice then, from your practice then as a kid, I guess, to where you are now, is there a set routine? Because some people stick to routines, and some people say, no, forget routine, I'm just going to play.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm sort of more of a talented player, but obviously you've still got to put the hard work in. Talent just doesn't pay off. In some ways, you're probably better off not being talented, because you work harder. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But obviously, you've got to practice things, because if you don't play a lot, you feel rusty and stuff. So yeah, you've got to do your routines and gain confidence from it, really. Yeah. So we touched on your favourite size of table. So the 10 foot. It sounds like you had some great success with the 10 foot.
So from a maker table, what is your favourite, if you had to pick, favourite table, what would your favourite table be?
Yeah, I mean, through English 8 ball and American pool, I think over the years I've played on all different kinds of brands of tables, obviously, probably like 15 to 20 different brands of table. Yeah. But, at 32, having played, 15, 16 years, I would say diamond billiard tables are the best. They feel, more strong. You feel like if you're walking around and you sort of accidentally nudge it, it's not going to go anywhere. And when you pop the ball, it's it sort of thuds and goes in the pocket, and the bounce off the cushion. It seems to be made of real quality stuff. Do you know what I mean? As well, some of the other tables, they can be a bit flimsy, let's say.
Okay, mate. And this is another question that's come in from the team here, actually, from here at Home Leisure, is what's it like to be the poster boy of 9-ball? And did you even know you were the poster boy of 9-ball?
Yeah, of course. No, I mean, obviously, you know, people say that and whatever else, but I think it's because, like, when I first come on the scene, I was about 18 and a half stone, and I went to the gym and I lost a lot of weight, and I think my looks improved a bit, losing the weight and whatever, so obviously it gets mentioned, it's nice, but, you know, end of the day, it doesn't win your tournaments, I suppose.
No. So when you're winning those tournaments, in the back of your head, because I wouldn't know what it's like, obviously, to play in front of millions of people, probably no more than 5 or 10.
Yeah.
And that's obviously just local friends. What's it like, pressure-wise? And do you even think about that pressure as you're taking those shots when you're live on TV or in a big competition?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you're not playing in a regular pool tournament where we have like anywhere between 10 or 20 tables in a big open space and there's no pressure because you might play in the corner of the room and whatnot, going to playing on a one-table setup, which we don't play many events like that, so it's not like we're used to it, like, let's say, golfers or snooker players or whatever else, you know, you get used to it. I think you just don't want to sort of look silly, really, but I'm sort of used to looking a bit silly anyway, so if I make a silly mistake, I can just laugh at myself, and people usually just forget about it, you know what I mean?
But what about that final shot? So you say that final shot is worth the championship, which is worth a prize fund, obviously, and the accolade. What's it like having to take it, especially if it's a tricky one?
Well, I was just going to say, you sort of open your straight in on the 9 and, you know, you could sort of pot it one-handed, really. But I suppose if it's a bit tricky, you're thinking, oh, my God, I've not landed too well on this shot. But I suppose when you're in the heat of the, you know, the moment and the pressure's on, you just sort of, that's what your practice is about, you know, and you've played all your life and you just, you know, you've done it many times before in practice and in match situations, and that's what experience is about, really.
Do you find that you zone out? Do you literally get into the zone of that ball?
I think,
or are you very aware of everything else that's kind of going on around you?
No, I think you sort of zone in, to be honest, and if you're not zoned in on that particular shot, the chances are you're going to mess it up, because if you're thinking about what somebody said in the crowd, or you're not happy with like the aircon or whatever, you're feeling it, but you're not, you know, your mind's not on the job, really.
Yeah.
The biggest line England has hit in their lives.
Yeah. So at the World Cup of Pool, there's obviously 2 of you.
Yeah.
So I guess play versus yourself and an opponent versus 2 of you, I guess there's a bit more camaraderie having watched you this year in the World Cup of Pool.
Yeah, there is, but the thing with when you play Scotch doubles, I mean, it's great for TV and it's exciting, but as a player, you never feel relaxed because you're obviously not playing a lot of shots, are you? You're playing 50% of the shots.
Yeah.
So I think that's why the drama's very good in it, because you don't sort of find, you know, your cueing arm, if that makes sense, and sometimes you can have a bit of a nightmare and then that can affect your partner and whatever else. So it makes for good TV, to be honest. But I've always liked playing doubles or team events.
Yeah, so what, more so than solo?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously I don't really like sort of being alone or being, you know, on my own. And like when I'm back home, I've got a lot of mates, and you know, our house is always full of everybody. It's full of family, or someone's always in our house. It's never like quiet, you know what I mean? So if you're travelling around on your own and you've got to practice on your own, I find it quite depressing. So I think I should have been a footballer, really, in a big team, having a good laugh, you know?
So talking football, any other sports that you dab-handed at? You any good at, I don't know, golf, football?
I like to play a lot of golf. When I was a kid, before I started playing pool, I was a junior member with my dad at Stan Golf Course in Radcliffe, and you know, I still play all right now. People say I could probably be single handicapper, but I don't play enough, you know, to get that down. But I like to have a game. I like to play a bit of tennis, table tennis. That's probably about it, really.
Yeah, not much of a footy man. Rugby, cricket.
As a kid, obviously, growing up in Manchester, I was like, you know, the red and blue divide, and at school I was sort of a red. But growing up watching like the derby days in the pubs and the pubs getting smashed up, I just thought, what's all this about? So I sort of, you know, just concentrated on the pool, really. And sort of as I've got older, I watched the big Champions League games and obviously, you know, the big tournaments, but I don't really follow a particular team now.
All right, fair enough. So Karl, you've obviously got your table that you talked about, your diamond at home. How does that play versus a table in a competition or a table that you're playing maybe on the TV? Is there a difference between your home table versus one in a tournament?
Yeah, I mean, even though it's the same table, you know, I bought my table from Diamond. Diamond sponsor the tour. It's the exact same table, the same cloth, the same balls, but it plays like 2 different tables, and that's not obviously the table's fault, it's just the conditions. You know, mine's in my converted garage, if you like, so it's a bit colder. I don't have table heaters on it, I don't have TV lighting beaming down on it, which makes it a lot hotter. and obviously I don't change the cloth that often because I'm a bit tight. But you know, when you're playing a brand new cloth and it's really hot in the arena, it slides a lot more. So you could sort of aim a particular point on the cushion on, let's say, my table at home, and then the same position on the TV table, and it'll come off different. So you have to adjust, and I'm sort of not the best at adjusting on a TV table because I'm used to playing in the clubs and the pubs, really. So yeah, I'm sort of used to like battered tables with like rips in and stuff like that.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, cool. So my final question, Karl, is what does the next 12 months look like for you? What have you got planned?
Yeah, I mean, the calendar in the sort of modern era has gone really crazy. We've started playing a lot more in China. That seems to be, the beginning of the year. And then obviously we've got all the regular tournaments, so it's a packed season. And sort of want to start the year off by losing some weight again and get back into the gym. I've had like bad neck, bad knee. So I need to sort of control the diet. It's not easy when you're on the tour, but yeah, they're the sort of goals, and try and win another World Championships, really.
Fantastic. Okay, mate. Well, look, thanks for stopping by, and from all of us here at Home Legend Direct.
Cheers, pal. Nice one.
Good luck for the future. Thanks, mate.